ladies and gentlemen, your eyes do not deceive you. We are back. I know it's been some time. We gave you guys time to, I don't know, download the rest of the world, spend time with your families, and just celebrate the holidays. But of course, when we stop, that's when wrestling is at its craziest. So we had to come back. I had to check in with you guys, not only update the list, but also talk wrestling, man. But after that intro, you already know what it is. For the Love of Wrestling, this is the Flow Show. Quincy Jones, go. Brian Andrew, what's going on, man? How you been?
I've been all right. Just living life, Had the
Oh
holidays.
yeah,
How about you?
I was good, man. Celebrated a birthday. Kind of, not really, but my birthday was on Thanksgiving, so it was like,
Oh, yeah, happy birthday.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it was just one of those things where it was ever since me and my brother been little, and for those that don't know, I'm a twin because I'm on here by myself. Our birthday probably every 6 or 7 years falls on Thanksgiving. It was worse when we were
Mm,
younger. Like it'd be like we'd be at our uncle's house, and then everyone would be sitting up there just like off the itis, just like half asleep there, and then someone would turn to us like, "Oh yeah, it's your guys' birthday today, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks for coming over and eating turkey, you asshole." Like, yeah, I've been kind of waiting for you guys to at
right.
least give me a hug or something. Like, acknowledge my birthday. I was here 7 years ago, like whatever whatever time it was. But other than that, dude, I was sitting up here watching wrestling and was like, "Oh shit, there's some shit going down." I figure I'll start off hot, try to catch up on some things. What are your thoughts on the Seth Rollins thing, dude? Short and sweet for me, but I guess not so much the act that he got attacked by the fan, but what do you make of the fan? I mean, have you seen the videos of this guy? Like a lot of people been kind of questioning uh his aptitude a little bit, whether he thinks it's a little bit too real or he's just totally so far gone. I mean, there were some details behind it saying that he got catfished by like a fake Seth Rollins account. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
I, I,
Um. I'll put it like this. Like, I'm not sure what. Um. How do I want to put this? I'm not sure what exactly. Like, for example, like some things are just inexcusable, and this kind of falls in that.
yeah,
But at the same time, is if there really is something where he has a hard time distinguishing what the lines are.
like
If
reality
I
from yeah, true.
Yeah, I don't want to fault him, and I kind of feel bad that you know even even if he could, right? uh it's crazy that, like, like, now he has charges against him and stuff like that, like, and it's crazy that, like, just a moment of, I guess, doing something that you would consider irresponsible, now you have to deal with it moving forward. And,
Yeah, I
man.
mean, and the other thing is, on it's only worth noting because of the other details about it. You're talking about charges. Apparently, I guess his girlfriend had gotten arrested for writing a bad check as a result of this whole thing. I guess I don't know the full like ins and outs, but from the messages, like the message log I saw, it showed that they spoke on it multiple times, him and his Seth Rollins account. And you even see him saying like, "Hey man, I'm trying to get back to Becky, but my phone's off," or something weird where it's like, "Oh yeah, he talked about Becky, so it makes it more real, right?" So I don't know. But I don't know. I guess he had the guy give him money. He said he was going to pay him back. He paid him back, and or he quote unquote paid him back. He sent him a check. The check was bad, and then I think like the guy's girlfriend, not this fake Seth Rollins, but I think his name's Elias. I can't remember the guy's name. Spencer, I think is his name. The fan who attacked Seth. I guess his girlfriend tried to write a check to make it right, but then she got caught up in writing a faulty check on some weird stuff. So it's like I can understand, like, that situation without wrestling involved. I mean, I've been around, I've had friends that try to get me into doing shit like that when I was younger, and me not, I'm like, oh, this seems like a cool plan. I'm like, no, this is illegal. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. And
Mhm.
I remember specifically one time I was going to do it and I didn't. Someone told me not to. I bailed out. And then literally, uh, those same guys ended up getting arrested that day or the next day they went to go do it. You know what I mean? And on top of that, my brother,
Mhm.
not to put his business out there too much, but he ended up getting a call from a detective about identity theft because unbeknownst to
Mhm.
us, our friend quote unquote, ended up using my brother's old ID and said it was him because he's like light skin. A lot of people used to think that we were related because we're like light skin, black, and we always kicked it around each other. So a lot of people thought we were related, but we weren't. But we looked alike enough to, like I think my brother gave him his ID so he can go get into clubs and stuff and drink. But he ended up using the ID to try to like fuck him over, and it was just like this whole thing. So I say all that to say I can understand the anger that's attached to something like that. But yeah, the other stuff with him, I mean, because I don't know if you saw the video of him coming out of jail and saying how he did it for The Rock and he did it for the bloodline. And like he's literally saying this, like not cracking a smile or nothing, just like he's dead serious saying that this is why he did it. He calls Seth Rollins by his government name and everything. And then I don't know, it was definitely a weird start of that wrestling week. I mean, I give him credit because he didn't let it affect him in the coming weeks, but still, it was pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I kind of just in general, it's one of those things where you just like wish it never happened, and like so that guy could kind of move on with his life. Seth Rollins can move on with
absolutely, yeah. I mean, the other thing that was interesting is I guess they said that the real Becky ended up blocking him, which the only thing I could think of is maybe he's still in an attempt to think that this whole thing is real. He's trying to now contact her saying, hey, like Seth was supposed to pay me back and she has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. You know what I mean? So she's it's just, it's a whole, like you said, the whole thing's unfortunate. I mean, the only joke I had, I was like, damn, I guess Goldberg just he needs to start taking notes on that spear. You know what I mean? Because this guy just came out of nowhere. Like someone
Goldberg needs to stop working out with those dummies at the football field and stuff.
Dude, like the funny thing is I posted a video and someone who doesn't watch wrestling, they're like, holy shit, they need to sign that guy. I was like, fuck, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna do that. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, obviously, it's been kind of buzzworthy, is the how have you been feeling? I don't know if you caught this. I mean, again, I know it's kind of touch and go when it comes to Raw. But we did have the CM Punk and MJF segment, which I'm sure we'll get into, but a lot of people are likening it to the way that WWE booked The Miz versus Edge on Raw. Which I didn't think about until someone showed the parallels back and forth, which was basically it's there. Like it's like the term, even a lot of the verbiage is actually a lot of the same. But I would have, again, if someone didn't put them side by side, I wouldn't even have thought twice about it. But the reason I bring up the Miz Edge thing is there's been a kind of a red button issue with WWE kind of using the releases as part of like the promo and part of the storyline, because it wasn't just them, it was also Becky Lynch and who was it, Liv Morgan. They had a remark about the releases as well. But apparently a lot of people they thought it was in bad taste. I didn't know. I mean, for me personally, I thought it's better than you guys insulting our intelligence and just acting like they never existed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like for instance, like the whole Biggie Aleister Black thing, like they did that in 1 week and then he got fired, and then we just don't even, it's just, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're just supposed to forget about that. It's like, but if you would have, mentioned it or something, then it's like, okay, well, at least you guys aren't acting like it never happened, I'm not against it again, but I guess it's all about the context, if it's in good taste. I mean, Edge, he had made the remark, because he had Miz going on and on about, he's such a big star. He was able to leave wrestling and transcend into pop culture with Dancing with the Stars. Edge is talking about, yeah, but while you were gone, you left your partner high and dry to get fired. And I was like, oh shit. Which, I mean, depending on reality or storyline, looks true. And then you also had Liv basically tell Becky that it was her big ass contract that pretty much, forced her friends out of the company. And I was like, again,
which is probably wrong, but kind of true.
That's what I was talking to my brother. I'm like, there's already probably a public opinion that thinks that there's some truth to that. And that's why I thought it was smart for them to play on it, especially coming from Liv, because to be real, even though I wasn't the biggest Riot Squad fan, they had a lot of love. Like people were really into them. their friendship. I mean, even now, like, I mean, I think they saw each other randomly in the airport, and everybody was just like, it was just like a feel good moment for them. So I can understand why she would make the remark to use the sympathy and get more of that face rub on it, which again I wasn't against, because that it's a little bit different. I guess Edge in his promo, he has creative freedom, so no one knew that was coming. However, or you know, and plus the fact that he even referenced AEW slightly without even really saying it. But with Liv, I heard the remark that she said was actually given to her directly from Vince. So you know what I mean?
I feel okay. So was it in bad taste because you're trying now to make a story out of people being released?
Well, you see,
That
it
like
goes a little bit farther than that. I just remembered. I'm sorry. It's because I guess
yeah.
I missed it on commentary, but Shayna Baszler had a match against Sasha Banks just last night on SmackDown,
Mhm.
and it was weird because you had Pat McAfee making note that like saying that Shayna kicked Nia Jax and Eva Marie out of WWE, and they
Oh,
actually like said that, and then he even goes and says maybe they should something about like they should call that kick the future endeavored kick. And I was like,
mhm.
okay, that's when it's a little bit, that's
Okay.
bad taste. I'm like, because no one's even thinking about Nia, no one's thinking about Eva Marie, but now that you bring them up, it's like, you know, what for? It doesn't really add. Shayna doesn't have a story going on, so it adds nothing to Shayna. Shayna already is a,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? She already has the badass kind of built into her character. Like you already,
So when I watch SmackDown, sometimes there's a match that I'm like, oh, I want to watch this, but
yeah,
usually that's not the case. So I I see the match get started, and then I kind of fast forward to the last few minutes just to see like the finish, because on this show we don't go through the ins and outs of the matches. We just go through basically the results and what they mean in terms of storylines and stuff. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. So I'm not watching 2 hours of SmackDown, or I'm not watching 3 hours of Raw. Um, so I didn't catch that. But yeah, like
yeah. I had to read about it. I didn't catch it either. I saw the match and I was just like, whatever. And then like they brought it up later in an article, and I was like, oh shit.
they, how should I put this? Like you said, I like that they're mentioning it, so it's not just some thing that just never happened kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like, because
exactly.
like, you know, they kind of act like sometimes these people don't exist after they get released and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think the way they're doing it is a little distasteful. It's just
Yeah, I
like, you know,
mean, yeah.
you
For
the
me, the one,
reality, yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say the reality of the whole thing is you're releasing people because they're not getting either vaccines, or you're trying to make money,
yeah,
the money budget work, or you're trying to sell eventually. It's a very corporate reason, or you're like, I don't like the way they talk backstage, you know. It's a very corporate reason why you're getting rid of these people, and it's not because Shayna Baszler kicked them, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
yeah. It's not like, hey, we need you to we need to attach the golden shovel to the bottom of your heel and just start freaking. Yeah, yeah. It's not. I
mhm.
don't know, dude. But like I said, there's a way of doing it, but then like, yeah, especially the fact that it came from Pat, I was like, yeah, I don't think Cole would ever said something like that.
Because you could, my thing would be just keep doing it the way you're doing it, because we're used to that. Just like,
Yeah,
just don't mention them. You
yeah,
know, we don't like it, but it is what it is. Or you legit find a way. And they always had to try to find a way to fit into the storyline. But you could just have like Adam Pierce at some point be like talking to Sonya Deville backstage and be like, yeah, we, you know, budget cuts, we had to get rid of boom, 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 boom. You
yeah,
know, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh, I guess Nia Jax is not on TV anymore. You know, and I think this is
yeah,
also a way to kind of make it so like if they do go somewhere else, you're kind of killing their vibe, because it's like, oh, some fans who are casuals are gonna think Shayna Baszler is much better than Nia Jax, and they kept Shayna Baszler, and now Nia Jax is
mm,
just some person somewhere else. But like that's where you start getting into that weird fine line of like, yeah, but if you're following Nia Jax going somewhere else, even if it is AEW, are you at that point a casual fan? Like, there's no
yeah, true.
casual fans who are invested in the release
Yeah,
superstar
where they're gonna
transition.
follow where they go post
Yeah,
release and all that stuff. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you're right. You know what? Speaking of post release and just releases in general, worth noting is, we always said that we want, we had no, no doubt that a lot of these men and women who recently got released from WWE would land on their feet. And that seems to be the case for former NXT champion Karrion Kross, now back to Killer Kross, heading to the acting world. He's going to Hollywood, man. I guess there's no info on director, on shooting location, or what it is, but I guess he's landed a lead role in an action movie that's gonna start filming in 2022.
He's got a good look. Like I think that's everyone's always said that about him, right?
Yeah,
Like everyone's always said, like, because no one thinks he's like the best wrestler in the game, but everyone thinks he's a solid
he has a hell of a
worker.
look. Yeah, exactly, and
And
it's kind of
everyone,
hard to manufacture that look. Yeah.
yeah. So, and we all thought Vince would love it, but apparently not.
I don't know,
So
man. It was just he's like, yeah, let's just cover that face up and see why he's not getting over. It's fucking, I don't know.
there was moments I remember when he first signed that a lot of people were like, you know what, he kind of doesn't fit the NXT thing. How about he goes to the main roster right away?
I was thinking that he probably should have, but
Just the way he paces his
who
matches.
knows? Yeah, who knows how he would have fared on the main roster right away, as opposed to, oh hey, we can put some gladiator shit on this guy after a while. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not too sure
Right.
how that would have changed any kind of trajectory for him push wise. But I don't know. Maybe it's, I don't know, man. Sometimes I feel like it's just Vince. Like, I just want to fuck up this shit because just to show Triple H he doesn't run this shit. I do. Like, I don't. It's weird. Like the thing with Hit Row, right? I know it's like it sounds conspiracy riddled, but it's like I wouldn't doubt that they are bringing up some of these NXT stars just to give them the 90-day clause instead of the 30-day clause. You know what I mean? Like, just so they can bring them up, fire them, and like, well, we won't see them in 3 months instead of like him popping up in a month. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's super weird, but
I could see that with some of them too, but I could also see, like, if that was the case, they shouldn't have brought up Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly because they're about to leave.
well, speaking of which, Gargano, I don't know if you heard he has an extension. I mean, his last day is Sunday. You know, as far as I know, there's no new deal. They've sent over new deals, but there's no word on if he's accepted these deals, or there's no info on how much the deals are for. But it's saying that they talked to him about the contract extension all the way back to October. So it seems like this is something that it wasn't just like, well, hey, we got this thing going with the War Games. You think you could just hold on for a little bit? So, I mean, it sounds more like just like the kind of what Adam Cole did. He was like, well, I'll definitely finish up this storyline with Kyle O'Reilly before I head out, type of thing, you know.
Professional.
But also it says that they're also working really bad to re-sign Kyle right now. Which he said he's actually surprised that his contract came up because I don't know if you remember, but he's diabetic, so there's a lot more risk health-wise when it came to COVID. You're already compromised, so I know a lot of it he was at home. So he was saying like, dude, I missed a lot of time, so I'm surprised that they're not going to make me stay to honor those days. You know what I mean? That's how they usually do it. You know what I mean? Like for me, I'm thinking, I'm surprised they didn't try to release Lacey Evans, but I'm like, oh wait, she's out being pregnant. So I'm like, but they probably, they did the same thing to Maria, didn't they? Didn't they do the same thing to Maria when she was pregnant? Maria Kanellis?
Yeah, but I don't think it was. They released her and her husband together, so I think there might have this, like, maybe it's in the contract that as long as Mike is there, Maria has to be there. So they're like, well, we're getting rid of Mike, so you're going.
I could see that.
Whereas, with, like, for example, like Candace coming up, right? The thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if they do like this. I actually think distastefully they're using Candace LeRae as a way to keep 100%. Johnny there.
100%.
But the thing is, Johnny is still in the prime of his career.
Yeah, I agree.
And you are trying to basically keep him there to put over Braun Breaker and all these other people.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to bring him up. You're not going to do anything with him. They're probably telling him that they will. But I think they're like, well, your pregnant wife is under contract, so don't you want to be in the same place as her? You don't want to be on the road of AEW.
Don't you want to make sure you're still bringing in money for the family? And it's like, no, there's other places to work, dude.
And like, and I think it would be, and I don't know what Tommaso Ciampa's deal is, but like, for example, Tommaso also has like, like it's kind of like that Daniel Bryan thing where you're like, I love that you're wrestling, but any day now, if you said I'm done, we would all understand.
I
Like
was just
because of
gonna say that I don't see him, even if he were to be done, I think he would hang it up in NXT. I don't see him going to another company because I know one of the reasons why he stayed with NXT and was so adamant about not going to main roster is because a lot of his injuries with his neck and stuff, and just all the discomfort and having to run
Mhm.
that ragged travel schedule and knowing it's not going to be beneficial towards that health, towards his neck and stuff like that, which obviously I can imagine still, gives him problems to this day. So like to think that he would leave NXT just to go to AEW or wherever it may be, I don't see it unless it's going to be like a place where he's not going to be traveling so much.
Mhm.
Granted, they only work like 2 days a week, and it's actually more one day a week, and they just film both shows on the same night with Dynamite and Rampage.
Right.
So I don't know if that makes it easier for him. But then again, I don't even know if that, at this point in his career, I think he's trying to just get the most out of what he has left. Uh, and I mean, you know what I mean? That's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah,
But with Kyle, I did hear that Kyle has been turning down offers. Like he's just like, nah, I'm cool. Like I don't like that offer. I don't like this. I don't know if that means he's waiting for a better offer or he's just totally checked out. You know what I mean? So
I would assume he's checked out because unless like, okay, let's just say Johnny moves on, right? And unless the WWE recognizes that, like the Undisputed Era was one of the most popular, probably merch sellers in general in the WWE for a
100%.
while, and
In terms of factions, yeah,
and
100%.
you still have technically one of them still there, and you have the opportunity to keep Undisputed Era happening in AEW, I would offer Kyle O'Reilly a crap ton of money just to keep him under contract, and then you figure out what you're gonna do with him.
I mean,
And
just based on what they're doing with him and Von Wagner, I'm just like, I don't know if he's even in a hurry to want to sign out those papers because he's like, dude, I spent my life as a tag team guy. I finally like put some stock into my single name, like as a singles guy, and
mhm,
then now I'm back to being a fucking tag team guy with some guy that I don't even fucking mesh with. Like, you know what I mean? It's just and dude, I'm sorry, but he has the worst tights in the world.
yeah.
It's just black with like some weird shit on the side. I'm like, well, I don't understand why you like I can't like again, this is the guy that Vince walked in when he came in to check out the NXT talent and was like, oh, this guy I could see main eventing WrestleMania one day. I'm like, no fucking way, dude.
Not that, no. Um, Kyle would take if Kyle were to resign, he would probably take Johnny's role as putting over the future talent,
Yeah.
and
And it's like,
and
why sign just to put people over? You know what I mean?
yeah, it's like, if you want, just go to AEW where you're probably gonna have to do the same, but at least the matches mean more. Um,
I mean, and then there's also just I'm not saying, oh, go to AEW and let's do Undisputed Era 2.0. I'm just, to be honest, him and Bobby Fish are a great tag team together. So it's like the fact that they can kind of still do the Red Dragon thing without it having to be absolutely Undisputed Era. I mean, that's not a bad thing either. But are they short
right.
on tag teams? No, hell no.
Well, like,
Um,
but the AEW does have a reputation, even if sometimes I feel like they don't execute it uh well. Is they have this reputation of being like basically we have the best tag teams in the world, and we're a factory that just keeps like busting out these great tag team matches at every pay-per-view,
yeah,
right?
true.
And that's why personally, even if it was a super short run of some sort, like I would like a DIY run on AEW. And even if Tommaso's like,
That'd be
all right,
dope.
I did it for 6 months and I'm done,
Yeah,
then Johnny could go on and be a singles wrestler, and Tommaso could either have a
they
backstage role or some sort,
they
or
could probably have like one last one-on-one. That'd be his last match. And yeah, I think he'd be a great mind backstage to help some of these guys for sure.
and you could do like FTR versus DIY one more time at some
Yeah,
point,
100.
and
And the fans would go crazy for something like that. I mean, even like there's a lot of tag teams that we didn't even think about with DIY. I mean, just mixing it up with DIY just on paper too. So I'm sure that there's a lot of different situations they can go through. I mean, especially when you think about it's tag team wrestling, so you're taking up half the load as opposed to having to wrestle, take the bumps by yourself every single time. And I only say that in terms of like again, Tommaso Ciampa, and all that shit. But then again, he possibly could have watched uh Dynamite, the main event, and was like, oh, is that what they're doing over there? I ain't fucking jumping in no fire. But
Right.
before I get into that, speaking again of contracts and releases, Marina Shafir, interesting enough, because this is the wife and mother of Roderick Strong's baby. She actually just made her All Elite Wrestling debut on on Dark on Friday. So
Oh, cool.
it says that she wrestled Chris Statlander in the singles. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that means. I mean, not everyone that runs through there gets signed, but it's. I mean, at least. I mean, I didn't think that she had any interest in still doing pro wrestling after that, because it seemed like the only reason they brought her in was to try to do the whole four horsemen versus or four horsewomen versus the four horsewomen thing, WWE versus MMA, but obviously never happened. So,
So the what a ball drop on that, right?
dude, yeah, I mean,
What like
but to be
we
honest,
that's not
I
talked
could
about enough.
I could never take Jessamine Duke serious because she never looked like intimidating to me.
Right.
Like, and I'm not a body shamer or anything like that. It's just in wrestling, there's a certain archetype, and she just kind of like looked like just too thin for me to like think she could cause damage to anybody. And it was not. I'm not saying for her to put on more muscle or nothing like that. It's just I don't know. It's like she kind of reminded me of like Colin Delaney from ECW back in the day. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, you're there, but like, I mean, I don't know if I could take you as a serious threat. Marina Shafir was getting better. I did like when they added them to like the Raw Underground thing, which is it's crazy that we haven't talked about that in so long.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's real weird. But the thing is with NXT though, there's a lot of stuff coming out about NXT. There's a report from Brian Alvarez saying he's hearing from people that quote, it's not fun working here anymore. It's just not
I'm
fun.
assuming.
You know, and I don't know if you heard, but
It's
and
not fun watching it. So
yeah, not at all. And you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the Glamazon and when it comes to her commentary, to be honest, I'm not. But I do love Beth Phoenix as a legend. But she even, I don't know if you heard this, she's War Games is her last night. She's leaving NXT. Like a lot of people thought she was leaving NXT because they thought she was gonna go to the main roster and do join Edge the fight Miz and Maurice. But I guess
Mhm.
that's not the case. She, she's gone. She said, ahead of War Games, I wanted to share that this Sunday will be my final night in NXT. While I remain a part of WWE, I've made the choice to step away from the weekly broadcast booth to spend more time with my family. This was not an easy decision, as I have loved my 3+ years and 135 episodes with NXT, and am incredibly proud of the brand. I will be forever grateful to Vic Joseph, Wade Barrett, Nigel McGuinness, Tom Phillips, Mauro Ranallo, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Michael Cole, my entire NXT family, both in and out of the ring, for the amazing opportunity. So basically says NXT leave the porch light on for me. Like, something about her being Auntie Betty, whatever. But
Wait,
I
she's done
mean,
300 episodes?
she said 135.
Oh, I was gonna say, what the I heard
Yeah,
that wrong. I was like,
three
that's like
plus
6
years.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 3+ years, 135 episodes. So, but yeah, I mean, people are opting to
I
leave.
remember when she first started, I was not a fan, but then she grew on me.
I the reason why I'm not a fan is because like her commentary character was a little bit too hokey for me. Like some of the stuff she would say would be like, but commentators don't really talk like that. You know what I mean? Like it's
For
like
me, I was gonna say, for me, it's like sometimes these people suck, but you get used to that. That's who they are. Like, for example, Corey Graves will always be someone that, like, even though I don't think he's good anymore, I used to like him on NXT.
yeah, I really
But
did used to like him and Tom Phillips were really great on NXT. Yeah.
and so since I liked him on NXT, and the fact that sometimes some of the stuff he says is ridiculous, but you get used to it, and you're just like, all right, well, Corey Graves is,
That's just his character. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and so like same thing with Beth is Beth never really added anything substantial, but she would just be like, well, that person is good at wrestling, and you're like, yeah, I'm getting used to Beth Phoenix just saying
I
random stuff.
I'm not gonna lie. The thing that stands out to me, and me and my brother will say to pop each other, it's because it was I forgot who he was facing, but it was a match with Pete Dunne. You know, he always stomps on the fingers, and he does the spot where he stomps on the fingers, and then she goes, "Oh my God!" He just beat, she just stomped on his phalanges. I was like, Bro, I ain't heard that since natural science 1 in high school. Like
Yeah,
phalanges,
right.
like you could just say fingers, you could say digits. That's even pushing it, but you don't need to
Mm-hmm.
say phalanges. Like no one knows what the
Right.
fuck you're talking about. Like, I mean, I do, but it was just like it was kind of like too above and beyond for me. I'm like, you could have just it was just a simple spot. Like, but then again, I'm the guy that still misses Mauro Ranallo doing everything he can to get a pop reference over. So,
Yeah.
one other thing that's supposedly a change to NXT going on. There's talk about pretty much dissolving the Cruiserweight Championship. I don't know if you heard about this.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that they wanted to get rid of a championship. But yeah, Dave Meltzer, of course, is Dave Meltzer, so grain of salt. He said that he heard that there's talk of WWE potentially getting rid of the title with Roderick Strong set to defend it against Joe Gacy, who is above the 205 weight limit. No shit. So is fucking Odyssey Jones. I don't know why y'all at Sunday's War Games event. But just this past Tuesday at NXT, Gacy teased in quote unquote all-inclusive title coming in. So I don't know if that's just him talking, or I mean, to be honest, like they got rid of a lot of the 205 live guys.
Well, I was
Like
thinking, like,
Lindsay, Grand Metalik, Aria Davari, like I think what's his name? Spanky or Brian, what the fuck? Kendrick, I think he's a backstage name. Like he's just backstage now. Like Mike Kanellis is gone. Pac
so,
been gone. Like
so is the show officially going to end if they don't do this?
I
If they do this?
because 3 weeks ago they had Roderick versus Odyssey on there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, again, I'm like, who's watching this show? I don't know who you guys are putting this match on for and why this couldn't make NXT, but whatever.
Dude, imagine too.
And why?
Roderick
And let
Strong.
me just
Roderick
ask, why?
Strong's good.
Why are they looking at Roger Strong saying, "Oh, this guy can get Odyssey over"? Like, I don't understand that either. Like, it's
Yeah.
just kind of weird. Like, Roderick is great. He's kind of in the same boat with Ricochet with the promos, but
Mm-hmm.
like in ring, he's great. But yeah,
Well,
I don't
the thing
understand what
is,
they're doing.
he did a decent job in Undisputed Era as being like, in a weird
Like
way,
a B player, a little crony to take the,
he would have been a
you know,
really good cruiserweight champion in Undisputed Era too. Like, he would have just been like everyone else is tag champ or world champion. He would have had that, even though like they did have all the gold and he was North American champion at one point. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'll be honest with you, hot take. I don't hate the idea.
of them getting rid of the title, or
If they're not going to respect the title, then just don't have it.
they're not going to like, because they're I guess what they're trying to do is they're trying to get Malcolm Bivens to be the one to waive the weight limit, and I'm just like, but he is not a WWE official to be able to have that authority or whatever. But I think it's time, that way you can save money on not having to roll out production on 205, and then at the same time you could look at the actual roster and look at, oh, a lot of these guys aren't 205 no more. I wonder why, because you guys cut everybody that were probably fitting the bill, and then now you're like, yeah, we need them 6 foot 300 pounds now. So it's like there's no use to even
but there's a lot you could do with this. And to be honest, I'm not saying I love Casey's character, but like, you could honestly just have him win a championship, be like, this championship body shames everybody in this business. That's
which is some, he was saying a lot of that I think this past week. So like I like Joe Gacy, but I can't help but kind of compare him to Bray Wyatt, like early Bray Wyatt in NXT. So because they kind of come off the same way.
Well, also his character is a little odd, because I think to like, a 70-something-year-old person, him coming off as this like woke mob person and stuff like that is a heel, or not a heel, but maybe someone that is not likable, at least, like, even if you're not treating him as a heel. But to most people in the world, he's saying some babyface shit.
I was gonna say, I think that's why that's what I like about him, is he's not like everyone else that's so rah-rah on the mic. Like, he is very eloquent with the way he delivers his stuff, and it's just the little things that I like about him: his body language, maybe a little wink when he says something, maybe his facial expressions when he says something. He may hold on to something that he's saying. He may even wait to say something based on the fan. Like, he has a really good a really good handle on where he, at least for now, where his character is going and how they would react and speak. So there's
this is
something about that does intrigue me, but at the same time, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that I was a huge fan of Andre Chase just because of his promos. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
the wrestling's whatever, but just him and the stuff that he does, it's like it's total opposite. So I don't know.
It,
Like I said, there's very few people that are keeping me watching, but it's, I mean, the viewership has been down. You know what I mean? There's no
it's
question
bad.
about
The
that.
whole thing's bad, and I think, to be honest with you, if this was Triple H's NXT, and let's say this was Triple H's idea, we would all be like, even if we didn't like it at first, we would all be like, let's give it some time, But the thing is, like, since it's like now Vince McMahon's project, we're kind of, we have a very short leash. We're just like, you know what, this is stupid. But I'm not gonna lie to you, like, everyone's looking at Braun Breaker, everyone's looking at Wagner and all these people, but like, this storyline right here has the opportunity, if people give it a chance, to be the most interesting thing going on in NXT. And this might get, like, he might never ever win the NXT champion or be NXT champion, or even if he moves on to the main roster, he might just be like, whatever, but
Mid card, yeah, for sure.
but
I mean, I don't know, but if he goes up there with Harlan, a little different, right?
yeah, this whole situation though, I'm not gonna say I don't hate it, because like
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
if he's like, I won this championship, but you know what, you basically, this is gonna be for everybody, and I know, like, that's why, like, it's weird dynamics of the way they're building his character, and it's very confusing because that's a very babyface thing to do,
Yeah, to
and
to want to include everybody. Yeah.
but he's like, this is all inclusive. But the heel stuff could be that, like, although he wants to include everybody, he's including people that he thinks he could beat or something like that.
Which that's kind of it's funny you said, because that's what I got from what he had, like 3 different opponents set up for him on
Mm-hmm.
NXT, and then of course they're going to stop it right when he's supposed to do the intergender match, which I was thinking, oh, they're really going to let him do this, which I was interested to see how it was going to turn out. Um, I mean, based on the climate we are in now, I don't know how safe it would be for him to try to hug her on camera,
Mm-hmm.
based on how everyone likes to cancel people. But I was interested to see how they were going to go, because when he would, he had, like, what do you say, like people who are discriminated against because of their height, their gender, or their weight. So I thought that was a cool little thing he was doing. If they would have actually let him run the gauntlet, I think that would have been cool. But that's the thing too, is like, yeah, he can at the same time, since it's all inclusive, handpick his opponents. You know what I mean? Where he's like, and then he could still just kind of like, hey man, you tried your best though, and I was happy to give you a shot. You know what I mean? And formidable opponent, but even though you're just like, dude, you're kind of patronizing these
Right.
guys as opposed to actually putting them over or celebrating them for reals. But
There's a lot of opportunity, and I'll be honest with you, this is the most interesting thing in NXT to me, and I would follow. And I think this is I'm not gonna lie, they have to get rid of the cruiserweight championship to do this? Probably not, but this is a brilliant championship that, like, I don't trust WWE to handle it delicately, but this is a brilliant championship, especially in this day and age. And like, basically all WWE would be doing is like what Lucha Underground and other places were doing, and you could get away with it without having like a 5-star classic. You could just, like, he gets over certain people, he rolls up certain people, like, he doesn't have
I
to
was
have
gonna
these
say
matches,
that the
like.
roll up would be super easy to do, because it's like, not to say men are weaker than, women are weaker than men, but it's like when you think about like a schoolboy, you're
Mhm.
stacking a smaller person up, and then you got more weight on your shoulders as a guy. You know what I mean? It leaves no room for any type of like doubt. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or any type of like holes in the logic. But I am interested to see where they go with this. The other thing I was interested in, which kind of came out of nowhere for me, was I was like, oh, okay, I guess Grayson Waller is a heel now. All of a sudden, he just kind of like turned it up, and before he was just, I'm another Australian happy to be here. And then now he's, oh, team hot dogs and handshakes, and oh, you guys are mad because you had to do the indie stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I understand that like that was kind of weird. I'm not against him doing this character, but it just seemingly came from out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like in that sense, I'm like, okay, so does that make LA Knight a face now or what? Like, I don't understand.
Okay, and can I also throw something out, which is very tricky and interesting about this old school versus new school thing?
Yeah.
Is technically LA Knight's only been there. Has he been there for more than a year?
I want to. He has been there for more than a year, but yeah, it's kind of weird. Like,
So
because
like,
I
'cause I
wouldn't
don't.
necessarily say that he would be part of black and red, black and yellow brand or the team, but
Yeah, like
because
I would.
to be honest, I was surprised it wouldn't be someone like Cameron Grimes who was there for like ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's been there for at least 2 years.
Lovable,
Yeah,
crowd loves him. You know what I mean?
and also the thing is, everyone on this team except for LA Knight is not only like NXT was when it was 1.0, they're basically like they're there for more than a few years, and like they've been there since like they're like they've gone through
They've
so
built the
many
brand.
champion. Yeah,
They
so
literally built the brand for it to even have this 2.0 now. You know what I mean?
so someone that I thought made a lot more sense in terms of like if that's the story you're going for. I understand that there's other. I know, but it is like Kyle O'Reilly would make more sense.
I was thinking that too. And then I was telling my brother, I'm like, that's how you split up the tag team. You got Von Wagner on one side and you got him on the other side. It makes
Yeah,
so much more sense.
I
You know what I
figured that
mean?
like I guess I just didn't want to do that, or I wouldn't be
I was
surprised if there's like an injury beforehand just to kind of make the story.
well, dude.
I don't know.
Funny you say that. I mean, but I was in my head. I was like, why are we doing 2 ladder matches like 4 days out before the War Games match? I'm like, what if one of these people get hurt in this ladder
Yeah.
match? I'm like, then
Mhm.
you guys can't. You know, it's so dumb. And then I'm like, and then on top of that, I'm like, it's a ladder match with the briefcase that has nothing in it because it's just whoever walks in and gets the advantage in the War Games match. I'm like, so this just could have been a singles match.
Well,
It
so
just could have been a singles match
I'm not
altogether,
gonna lie.
right?
One of my pet peeves with the War Games stuff every year, and it's funny, it always takes me out of it, and then I watch War Games and I'm like, oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Is you can't pin someone when you have the advantage, anyways. You have to wait till
You have to
everyone's in
wait.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
So,
not a real
so
advantage. I mean, it is
it
because you
kind
got
of
the
sucks.
numbers, but that's it. It's just a
So,
numbers advantage early
so like if it
for
was
two
like
minutes, right?
if it
Like I
was
think
a
it's
it was a video game, then yeah, I guess you can make the person's body red before
yeah,
the
true,
last
true.
person comes in. But the thing is, in real life logic, that doesn't happen.
And it's not an elimination match, so it's like there's no promise that you're gonna pin that guy. Like you
Yeah,
probably would target him, but now with all 4 people or all 8 people or whoever, how many? I know they've done different numbers for different matches, but it's like if you have all 8 teams or 8 members of each team on there, then it's like you swear like they're not going to try to protect that one guy that they know has been fucking getting his ass whipped the whole match, you know?
So like I admit like some of these ladder matches that they've done in the past have actually been really good. So I'm like, I get that it's good
Yeah,
TV,
yeah.
but so I'm like, I see it from that perspective, but it's always just a bullshit thing that I'm like, you're putting your body on a line in a ladder match just for some bullshit concept. Like, you're eventually gonna have
Yeah.
everybody in there anyways. Like,
Yeah, and that was my whole thing. I was just like, why? Like, we don't need 2 ladder. I mean, it's already crazy that there's one, but we have 2. I'm like, this is all right, whatever. Like, I don't know. But you know what? Another thing I thought of about the team black and gold for or I guess the old school NXT. I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, man, they could have really plucked from some of these main roster guys that made their name down there, like
oh
a
yeah.
Shinsuke or probably not a Sami Zayn because he's his current character, but maybe even possibly a Bobby Roode, possibly I don't know, maybe Drew McIntyre would probably be too mainstream now because he's already
Kevin Owens would do it in a heartbeat, but you've
yeah
already
he
done
would
that, right?
yeah he did
So
he did it at a and I guess that was supposed to lead to him coming back, like kind of like what they did with Finn, but
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And then I heard Finn also was dangerously close to getting let go just because of his contract. Because they were like, that's why they moved him back to main roster. They're like, well, you can't be making this main roster money while you're on NXT, bro. Like, we're gonna have to, if we're gonna pay you this much, we're using you on the main roster. So that's why they moved him back.
Well, it's
And he's another guy that definitely could have been,
and I forgot to make this point with the Becky Lynch thing earlier. Was like he's like, oh, your big ass contract is why all these people got fired, right? And it's like, well, that's not true, but it's also like if you think about it, Nick Khan is looking at the budget and saying like, well, we have to reach this amount of money, so we're gonna
yeah.
release these amount of people. And
Where
it's
can
like,
we trim the
while
fat at? Yeah,
while you're doing that though, you are keeping these bigger contracts. So I'm like,
yeah,
so Liv is somewhat right, like maybe if Becky
yeah,
Lynch made a little less, those people wouldn't have to get fired, right?
yeah, exactly.
So it makes sense, but it's not like the way they made the promo sound is like, well, we gave Becky Lynch a shit ton of money. Sorry, you're all gonna go now. You know,
Yeah,
like
so
that. And,
we had to get the money from somewhere. Sorry, goodbye.
yeah, it's like, no, the money
Yeah,
was already there. You just didn't want to pay these other
yeah,
people.
exactly. You guys wanted you had to allocate it for something else. Yeah, you just all of
So
a sudden
yeah,
like,
like
oh
getting
fuck.
back to like Finn Balor, it's like one of those like, well, might as well move up. It's like it's weird because they keep doing this thing where they kind of are like, hey, you know what? You are kind of main event, so we're gonna put you in the main event, and then like they might fire you a month later.
Dude, 100%. I mean, we saw it with
Yeah.
Cross, we saw it with Keith Lee, we saw like there's a lot of people that they kind of just and it's dude, weird enough, but tell me like if like they were looking for a fourth for that old school NXT team. I don't know if it's been a lot enough time that's passed, but what if Velveteen Dream came back? Do you think he'd get a pop? It's kind of hard to.
You might be able to get NXT. He's released though, right?
Yeah, he was released.
Okay. You might be able to get people to hate NXT so much and that they crave
Yeah,
for the old
that's
NXT
what I
and
was going with it. Yeah, exactly.
that they're like, eh,
Fuck it. Yeah, we'll take this guy. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like, well, yeah, sure, you know.
Yeah, like I
You
mean
know?
that's why I was thinking. I was like, they at this point they may even be ready to accept him back into the company just based on how things are going. But to be honest, I was really surprised that they were like, yeah, let's get Tony Angelo. And I'm like, he's like doing well, but I think it's kind of too much of a like it's a too high profile of a spot to give him right away. Is that War Games? I was kind of surprised about that because for me, I'm like, why wouldn't it have been just like I said? I named Cameron Grimes. They could have put Duke Hudson on the other side too. You know what I mean? Which Duke Hudson is a guy that I mean he's another guy that I think shows promise and potential, but then they just fucking fucked him over with that poker gimmick. That was stupid as shit.
Right.
But you know what? The one thing I wanted to bring up, because we're talking about contracts and people that are able to kind of stay below the radar, even though they're not really doing much. I honestly forgot that this guy works for WWE, Elias. I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, exactly, right. And then it's like I remember they did the vignettes with the graveyard stuff, and I read that it was obviously to kill off the music gimmick, and they had. There's two reports I read. There was reports of they were ready to turn him face, and he was going to wear trunks, and they had like these bright colored whatever, right? They were going to change up his whole shtick, and the rumor is Vince was like, no, fuck it, we're not going to do it anymore. And they're like, why? They're like, because he looks too much like Randy Savage. And I'm like, he looked like Randy Savage 3-4 years ago.
He just
Like
looks
he's
like
always
Randy
looked like him.
Savage. Yeah, he looks like Randy Savage in regular clothes anyway, so it doesn't
Yeah, right,
matter.
exactly, right. And then like, but then there's another report saying, well, that's actually not true because there's been reports of Elias being backstage with his face shaved. Now I don't know if it's completely shaved, but he went through like I don't know if he cut his hair, but it's supposedly he has a different look. So I don't know. There's two conflicting reports about it. Supposedly there was this planned gimmick change that's just not happening. So I don't know what's going on. I mean,
Can I ask you a quick question about Elias?
of course.
I'm trying to figure out the right way to word this so we don't waste too much time. Although his character kind of got stale, were you ever at a point where you felt like Elias needed to not be the music character though?
No, I mean,
Like that's a character he could have for his entire career, and we would have been fine with it.
I felt like that we've seen that they invested in a character like that before. Honky Tonk Man, what like IC champ for 3 years or whatever the fuck it was. So it's like they've shown. I mean, there's been other incarnations of it as well, but it's like even right now, like I was thinking, I'm like, why do we have Boogs doing the guitar thing with Shinsuke if we already had Elias? You know what I mean? There's a lot of I've been noticing that like they got rid of certain people, but then they got other people doing that same gimmick, like Boa. Boa is like over here on some like what is he, the demon now? Is he the demon Finn? Like he just 1 minute he's Boa and then he has paint on his face. Joe Gacy, like I said, he got that Bray Wyatt thing going on. We ain't got Bray Wyatt no more. But it's weird. It's just I've been noticing that they'll get rid of one and then the other one, like I said, I mean, not to take away from Solo Sikoa because he's doing his thing, but I couldn't help when I first saw him. I'm like, so y'all got rid of Samoa Joe just to have him do the Samoa Joe thing. I'm like, I don't understand this. You know what I mean? Like you guys want new faces and are trying to bring in a new, younger crowd by having them relate to these younger, newer, fresher faces, but you guys are dressing them up in the same, you know, used gimmicks that worked before. But you got rid of those
Well,
guys. You know what I mean? That's what I
what
don't get. It's like
you
you get rid of them. Like even right now, like I was thinking, why are they keeping Ricochet when they're giving a guy like Reggie way more TV time doing almost the same shit that they want Ricochet to do? You know
yeah.
what I mean? Which is all the Cirque du Soleil flips and dippy, all that shit. And it's like, that's low key kind of making him look bad, ain't it? Like, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this guy's even though the 24/7 champion, but he's like, he's getting more TV time than a guy like Ricochet, and he's not even like a wrestler. You know what I mean? It's like stuff like that I think about where it's like, well, shit, then get rid of some of these guys. Like, you just hold on to them just so you could fucking hinder whatever you guys got
Well,
going
I was
on. But
gonna,
it's
I
like,
was gonna,
fuck.
I was gonna make this point too. It's two. Technically, they don't always do this, but it's two brands, so it's technically two different shows, right? Was it at the Royal Rumble this year? I'm trying to remember. You might remember better. Where it's like technically, John Morrison had the dripstick,
Yeah.
but Seth was the drip king or whatever.
Yeah,
So
that was, yeah.
so they had that little drip show up and then it was kind of cool because they're on two different shows. They don't interact, but they both
Yeah.
have similar things going on. And those moments are kind of interesting and fun.
Yeah.
You could still have Elias play the guitar on Raw and have Boogs on SmackDown, and then when they see each other at the Royal Rumble or Survivor Series, they both have their guitars, and it's just like they either play together for a second to have like that weird special moment, or they hate each other because they're both music people and they don't want someone.
Yeah.
They,
Which, yeah.
you could have that, you know what I
Which
mean?
even something as, hey man, heard you shredder. You're actually pretty good. Like just
Yeah,
something like that's like not like a tongue in cheek comment where it's like they're
right.
still gonna get their ego over, but they're like, yeah, I have to say, you ain't too bad yourself. You know what I
Just
mean? Like, and
they
that's it. Like the crowd would go crazy for that. Like,
they released Elias has released albums and stuff, so you've
yeah,
invested in this guy already as this character.
absolutely, dude. Yeah,
It,
it's
so so
weird.
so even if you like, the story could be that maybe he loses love for music, but then that's the story too, like
Mm.
he doesn't want to play the guitar, he's done with that, and then eventually he gets back to it, but it seems like they're just going to drop it all. But and even if for whatever reason Boogs and him met on the same show, you could even have someone has to retire their guitar match or something like that.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Eventually down the line, like, or you could kind of have them interact, but kind of be kind of annoyed with each other, but never wrestle each other. And then,
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, they should definitely that'd be something that they could save for like a Survivor Series type of thing.
yeah, and then
Maybe even
like,
pre-show. You
and
know?
then like, like they keep thinking the other person's getting in their spotlight, but since they're both not like amazing wrestlers, they just never wrestle about it. They just bitch about it the
Yeah.
entire time.
Just have like
And
the ego driven like artist type of
yeah,
personality. Yeah.
so like you could still have two of the same thing at the same time, and I think that's where the WWE gets like, we can't have too many flip-de-doo people, we can't have too many people wearing a mask, we can't have too many people doing this, and it's like you just gotta make
Dude,
sure like
I don't even I think they I don't think they have anyone. I don't think that. Oh, all right, no. Outside of Rey Mysterio, they don't have any more luchadors.
no.
They got rid of everybody with a mask.
Yeah, and
That's
you
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. Um, by the way, I did hear Triple H finally made it back to WWE.
Yeah, that was more
Which
serious than we
obviously,
thought.
yeah, kiboshed all our armchair booking of him leaving. But I mean, we knew that if he wanted to leave, it's not going to be easy. We already knew it was going to be something that was going to affect like the family dynamic for sure. But I did hear that he did reach out and wanted to thank everybody for sending him the well wishes and stuff like that. Which you love to see it. You know what I mean? But yeah, supposedly it's super serious. I mean, Meltzer is saying that without Triple H actually confirming it, that he doesn't see him, like he thinks he's done in ring competition. Like he's
It makes sense.
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it either, man. I mean, like,
What was his last match?
man, I couldn't even tell you.
He didn't wrestle at Mania, right?
No, let me double check. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's one of those things though, because I was telling my brother, I'm like, I'm not here. It's not about the claims and trying to downplay anybody, but I mean, you could look for yourself. I mean, you could make your own assumption, but you could look at Triple H throughout the years, and he obviously did some steroids at some point in his career. So to
Mhm.
hear about like the heart portion of it, that kind of worried me because the biggest person I was thinking about that obviously was on roids that had the heart issue was Ultimate Warrior. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's something that you don't want to play around with. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that that's like the nature. That's the 100% the origin of what's going on with Triple H. I mean, it's just one of the things that I was thinking about. But either way, even if that's not what it is, you don't want to play around with that. You know what I mean? When it comes to the
Yeah.
heart issues and stuff like that, it's not something you even want. I mean, it's to me, it's insane that Jerry the King Lawler still works for WWE after what happened to him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and he's still not even, he's out here actually wrestling matches outside of WWE still.
Mhm.
It's insane to me. And I'm like, bro, if I almost passed away like that, I'm making sure I'm just gonna chill. And
Right.
I mean, because they barely saved you, bro. You got like if you were anywhere else, like if you were out shopping, as
Mhm.
opposed to at a place that has medical staff on deck, I don't know if you would have made it. And not to
That's
be
true.
an asshole about it, I'm just saying, like, man, it's I don't know. But I do wish Triple H the best. I'm looking up his last match. Triple H last
I
match.
want to. Was it Batista?
They're saying what? They say his last match. Okay, so a few months prior was the WrestleMania 35 no holds barred with Batista, but I guess a few months after that in June, he was on a tour of Japan and he teamed up with Shinsuke
I don't count that.
against Robert Roode and Samoa Joe.
That sounds like a really cool match. I gotta find that
Yeah, it
somehow.
really does. Yeah, I know it really does sound like a cool match. I want to see that shit. But
uh,
yeah, the last one we got, I guess the more high profile on camera was the 35 match, which you know, like I said, I wish him the best health wise. Just I mean, I hope I hope he's not hating coming to work now, where he's like, "What the fuck logo is that? Who approved this fucking multicolored logo when I was
I
gone?"
I, I want to be surprised sometimes because like these moments do something. We assume. Okay, I think we all assume that maybe it wasn't as serious or something like that, right? Lucy, shh. I
She's like,
know, I know, I
"Nah."
know that Triple H stuff bothers you.
She's like, "MC
Uh,
2.0 is a sham."
but he could also just be in a very grateful state of just being like, you
Yeah,
know what, you guys ruined my thing that I spent a lot of time on, but you know what, I'm just happy to be alive,
no, that's
and
fair. But
maybe
yeah,
that.
it could be not even about any of that shit anymore. Especially, I mean, it's one thing when you're going through it, but it's a whole other thing when you're going through it, and then this big of a health issue freaking sparks up, and you're like, okay, everything's in perspective now. I don't really care. He's like, yeah, I don't give two fucks about Drake Maverick leaving again. Like, it's like
He's like, you know what,
I saved him once. It's cool. He had a spot. It's all good. Like, fuck
is
it.
that, he's like, I just wish everybody the best. He's like,
He's probably
if you.
coming back. He's like, why is everybody like? It's like, did they say something about me on AEW? Like, why am I trending? They're like, yeah, they said something about the Kings of Kings in the CM Punk promo. It's like, oh, I fucking hate that guy. he's like catching up. He's catching up on all this shit. He's like, yeah, I wasn't even on social media. I wasn't on none of that shit. Last thing I had to as far as news, I don't know what this means because I'm like, they just hired all these people, so I don't know what the fuck they're doing. WWE has filed a trademark once again for Tough Enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
The NXT's not enough. Like you already.
that's my thing. I'm like, I
Mm,
mean, is that not why you guys ended up making the PC? So you
yeah.
don't have to spend production costs on
Do,
filming
do
these
people
guys
watch Tough
and
Enough?
shit?
I'm
I did. I mean, I did. I like the original version.
but
I didn't follow the second season after that. But when it did reboot with Stone Cold and Al Snow and shit, I did watch that one as well. But I mean, that's where Mandy Rose came from. I mean, she got eliminated, and then she
but
ended up being
I was
able to
gonna
get a
say,
job.
but like, do you think like what are the ratings on that?
Oh, I don't know, dude.
Like,
I
cause
think
like
at the time, I don't. That's the thing. I'm trying to remember. I think it was on USA. I think it was on USA. Because the only thing that I remember in terms of you saying, are people watching this? And this is probably the one episode they were just like, okay, I can turn this. Is they had all the trainees, like, because they had a set where they would show the episode, and then they would come back with whoever was hosting. And they had their own little set where it was an actual ring that had like the Tough Enough like emblems all over it and shit. And sometimes they would have special guests, and then some of the special guests would be like wrestlers putting the trainees through actual like training type of exercise or whatever it was. And I remember one time, of all people, it was Tamina, and she basically told everybody that they had to take a Uso splash from her, bro. It was like 8 Uso splashes in a row, and she was so slow to get up every time and like climb back up to the ring. And I was like, all right, I think I get the idea, man. I don't need I don't need to watch you do this.
Maybe you should be on Tough Enough to meet him.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know if I need to watch this for another 6 times. Like, this is ridiculous. But yeah, I just wanted. I'm like, why are we're trying to make more room, money financially to do other things? Is this one of those things? To
I just don't think people are craving it, you know.
It's just weird because again, I'm like, why even have the PC if you're gonna just do this whole reality show shit?
My thing too is sometimes the WWE confuses me because they're so adamant about being in control of everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
That why would you do a reality show, which I don't feel like reality shows are really a thing anymore, and then you're gonna bring in a contestant that people are now going to have expectations for because they won their little Tough Enough thing, now you need to figure out a way to make them work. And if you don't make them work, then Tough Enough failed. And I feel like although we got a lot of people from Tough Enough, there hasn't been a lot of Tough Enough winners that have done anything.
Now, honestly, like outside of what, John Morrison? I mean, you know what I mean?
And I know Maven and eliminated the Undertaker, but like,
okay, so like he didn't deserve it because he was drunk as fuck. I don't know if you heard about that. He got fucking drunk, and like, so he I don't know. Maven was just somebody I knew was never gonna work. I mean, when you got a name like Maven and you're just like, hey, I'm Maven, I'm happy to be here, I want Tough Enough. It's like, I have nothing to invest in.
What happens is these people win, then you don't see them for another year or two, and then all of a sudden,
no, you're right,
and they're on they're on a release report, or they did a dark match, or and that's it.
Because I remember the last reboot with Stone Cold, they picked this big tall white dude. I forgot his name was Andy something, but he was like, they called him Silent Rage because he was like, he didn't really speak much, but when he, when they're trying to get him to, well, when he flips that switch, it's gonna, be something. And I remember they brought him out to congratulate him as the winner, just for Stone Cold to fucking stun him in front of everybody. And I'm just like, well, fuck, you just kind of fucked him over. You know what I mean? Like, never seen him after that ever. Like, it was, yeah. So I don't know. They don't.
And it's tough because it's like, all right, well, you won, but you still need to become a wrestler, so we're gonna take you off TV. And it's like, no, the whole point of the show was, in my opinion, is you find a winner, and then that person should basically be on TV moving forward. Like,
I mean, if it's something that's gonna actually push ratings for them and people are watching it, then yeah, there needs to be that crossover for sure. I mean,
because then again, it's like being a champion, like, right? It's like, this is the Tough Enough winner. This is the guy who won. Like, you don't have to make him the main champion, but it's like being a champion. Like, that guy should have somewhat of a target on his back or something like that. But the thing is, like, these guys win, but they're not ready.
They're not. And I will say, if it wasn't for Tough Enough, the last Tough Enough, you wouldn't have got. I mentioned Mandy Rose, but I just remember that's how we got Velveteen Dream, because he was on that show as Patrick Clark.
Oh yeah,
didn't make it. He was the only one on the show that actually was a wrestler and watched wrestling. That's the thing that was infuriating. Is because he would get a lot of heat online for people who don't watch wrestling. They're like, yo, this guy takes it too seriously. I'm like, no, I'd be kind of pissed off too, where I'm in a wrestling competition. I'm the only one that can name this match, this like matches that actually got me interested in wrestling, which is, you always get that. I'm sorry. We also got Arian Andrews, aka was it Cameron from one half of the Funkadactyls. Yeah. She's the one that told Stone Cold her favorite WWE match was Melina versus, who the fuck was it? I don't remember who it was, but it was just like, I remember he was just like, what? Like, just like, seriously, just like said, like, what, did you just look this up on the network? Is this something that they, like, you could tell, like, I feel like you just watched this 2 weeks ago and just to have an answer type of thing. It was, I don't know, but yeah, Tough Enough coming back. I don't know. Maybe if we're lucky, it'll be just a.
What ends up happening too is that they find other people that didn't win, and they'll be like, "Oh, I like those guys a lot better, so we're gonna sign those people on."
I feel what they're gonna do is they're just gonna fill out the contestants with people already at the PC. You know what I mean? That
I wouldn't, to be honest. That would be perfect. Let's just say these are people that we're trying to figure out who should be on it, who should be on TV. Basically, these people have already trained a little bit, but they're not there yet. So we're gonna figure out who's tough enough.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
exactly. Yeah.
That would be 10 times better show than just some guy who what used to be that some people would send like a video in saying like I could be a wrestler,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then and then like
Did you ever see MJF had a tape? He didn't get
yeah.
picked, which was crazy. I was like, man, this is it's crazy how like years later, like how shit works out. But yeah, man, I am ready to break down the rankings if you're down.
All right, for sure do the women's list because we haven't done it since we made it.
I figured we would just focus on the women's list. The only other thing I was thinking, I'm like, do we add Brock back to the men's list? because him and Sammy kind of killed it last night. but like, other than that, I'm like, yeah, there's been some stuff going on with the women, and I know we were supposed to update it quite some time ago, but I think we also had to wait because there was a lot of matches that we were like Chris Statlander and Ruby Soho finally wrestled each other after a whole month, dude. I was like, God damn.
So we have the semis for the TBS championship set, and the Survivor Series match is finished. So I guess
that women's Survivor Series match was trash. Not trash, it just whatever. I didn't care for it. I didn't care for it.
It's funny because I'm looking at the list now and I'm like, no one's moved.
No. Well, I mean, I would probably take maybe Deanna or no, this is just my list. I keep forgetting what the final list is. Let me double check the social media.
Number 1 is Britt Baker. Number 2 is Charlotte.
That's what I
Number
got.
3 is Bianca.
That's what I got.
Number 4 is Becky.
Is it Sasha, Deanna?
Yeah, Serena. Queen Zelina.
Okay, then this is the list. Okay, I do.
And then Mickie James and Jade Cargill.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I would say, Zelina hasn't done nothing, but actually her and Carmella just won the women's tag championships, but you wouldn't know unless you watch.
I just for winning the tag championship, she should be taken off the list.
It's like, yes, that's Serena Deeb hasn't done anything. I mean, she's out of the tournament. I mean, the only thing she's done is she tried to cause Hikaru her or did she? I think she did, right? I know she came in and like clipped her leg and then jumped right back into the crowd like nothing happened. I was like, fuck.
I'll be honest, I guess I didn't watch that. But neither Rose made it, so maybe that did happen.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. As far as people I would take off, I would probably take off Deanna and Mickie. Jade, okay. I think it'd still stay at 10, but I would definitely add Thunder Rosa on here. I mean, I think we've been kind of overdue on that. To be honest.
Yeah, I would probably add Thunder Rosa, sure.
Because I know she actually just had a pretty good. I know it's again, Rampage is always touch and go too, but she actually had a pretty good segment against Jade. Like she's the only one that she was actually like fighting Jade. Like they had to separate them, and it was a pretty good segment for her.
So would you take Serena Deeb off?
I would.
Because we could add some of these that were taken off back on. We just need to figure out like what maybe 4 or 5 we're gonna take off right now, and then see what 4 or 5 would add. And if we only have 2 or 3, then we could add a couple of these back on.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out because I was like, I know Thunder Rosa's been doing her thing. Ty Conti had the match against Britt Baker, but and it was a good match. It just went on a little bit long for me. But that's
what about Liv Morgan?
I would put Liv Morgan on here. I'd probably put her. I'd probably move her up at number 10 and put Jade at 9. Like if I were to add Liv, I would probably put her at the bottom just because she's just getting hot right now, or not just, but you know what I mean, like consistently.
So right now we have Deanna, Mickie, and Serena Deeb off, and we're adding Thunder Rosa to Liv Morgan.
Yeah,
and then we're gonna probably think of one more. If we were to keep one, I would maybe keep Deanna, but I'll be honest, that's just because Triple Mania is this weekend.
I keep forgetting. I was thinking, because she's not in Impact anymore, right? She left, or am I wrong?
I think you're wrong, but I could be wrong myself. So
because I haven't seen. I mean, the last time I saw her, she had the match with Was it Mickey James? I think Mickey James beat her for the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's still currently signed. All right.
I feel like Deonna's just gonna win that back anytime, but since she's not doing anything, I can see us taking her off.
She is Triple H.
I would also move.
And Triple Mania is
Sasha.
actually Triple Mania is actually tonight. Because the weird
Yeah.
thing about it is they say Ray Phoenix wasn't on Rampage because he was hurt, even though he has a tag match scheduled tonight against FTR for the titles in Mexico. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure you just didn't think it'd be smart enough to travel and then come back. You know, you guys were see who else could we put on here?
Let me just double check.
I guess will we have to put Mandy Rose on here at some point?
Do we?
I mean, she's
like
NXT
she has
champ.
to do something. She has to do something, right? Or am I?
I mean, she won the NXT Women's Championship, but I mean, besides the fact of being what I guess somewhat the captain of her team for War Games this weekend. I mean, I guess we could wait to see if she gets added after this weekend.
If I could be honest with you, I don't see Deonna Purrazzo on this Triple Mania card, so we could take her off.
All right. She is still champ though.
Yeah, I'm just like, am I like missing something? Okay, whatever.
Who else is
I
somebody?
figured if she was on the card, she's still doing something relevant enough to maybe be number 10.
What about Naomi?
Because she's in the storyline with Sonya Deville.
I mean, she got the shit slapped out of her on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm. Are we keeping Queen Zelina?
I would, just for the fact that she won the tag titles. I mean, even though it look on paper it don't mean shit to me, but I mean it's right. She's finally a champion. She's never been a champion before. You know what I mean?
She's a champion. She just won the Queen of the Ring. Yeah, I get that.
That's the only reason I was like, well, I can't, even though it don't mean shit to me, I can't ignore. It's probably big for her in her career, right? You know, so.
All right, so. Thunder Rosa, Liv Morgan. Let me see. What's your prediction that the finals will be for the TBS Championship? Because the semis are Thunder Rosa versus Jade.
Yeah.
And it's Nyla Rose versus Ruby.
Which was that's what I had as the final four, but I thought that Ruby would be gone and it would be Statlander, which I thought would have been a better match. I think that they're gonna give it to Thunder Rosa. I think there's two picks: Thunder Rosa or Jade would be the best picks.
Yeah, I feel like
they're facing each other,
the
winner,
so
you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say the winner of that match, I think, is gonna win the championship. It's just a matter of who we think they're gonna face in the finals.
I mean, I could see them trying to do. They're already kind of doing it, but they Ruby versus Nyla. Maybe if Nyla wins, they're trying to get that David versus Goliath with Thunder, Rosa, and Nyla. I could also see them trying to revisit Jade versus Nyla as well, as they teased it before. I mean, even Jade versus Ruby might be another one, but I don't know, because the only reason why I'm just kind of on the fence about Jade is she still is green, and you could tell. Not like overwhelmingly, but there's certain things like in her movements. But because she's this imposing figure, like she can get away with, like, it's almost like when Braun first came in and he joined the Wyatt family. Like, you can tell there was still some further development to be met. But for a guy his size, it doesn't take skill to freaking like club somebody on the back or do a running clothesline or whatever it's gonna be. You know what I mean?
Well, so
but I'm trying to figure out who else. I mean, I don't know if I might take off Mickey James, but I mean only because we haven't. I mean, since the time we put her on this list, she hasn't done anything.
Yeah, so I have Deonna, Mickey, and Serena off, and I say we're gonna add Thunder Rosa and Liv Morgan, and then we'll just figure out where we put them.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out who's that third name we add on there. If we're taking off three, we gotta add three.
Shayna Baszler, maybe. Tony Storm, but all she's done is throw a pie in Charlotte's face. She hasn't really done anything.
Tell me about it. Okay, that's what we're doing.
I
Just call
guess like if you just want to fill a spot in, I would either go Nyla Rose or Ruby Soho, or I guess Mandy Rose at this point. Because I'm just like,
I think it might have to
right,
be Mandy Rose. I don't know.
all right, Mandy Rose is gonna be
Ruby had a really good match with Chris Statlander. I wasn't a fan of the finish. Not to say I didn't like who won. I just didn't. I think they could have had a way better finish. Um, I don't know.
I think a Ruby Soho versus Thunder Rosa match finals would be really good.
I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd be willing to add Ruby on there.
All right, let's do Ruby then.
Have you heard Taz try to sing her theme song?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, are you doing this just to pop yourself? Like, it's so I don't know. So let me see. We got Diana gone, Serena gone, and
Would you touch the top 5 at all in terms of movement?
I'd probably put Lynch over above Bianca for sure.
All right. So let's
I
move
mean, I'd
Lynch.
even put Becky second, just because of her match that she had with Charlotte was awesome, and she's been still doing
She
her thing
technically
on
won.
Raw. Yeah, so I would move Charlotte to 3 and Becky at 2. That's just me.
And move Bianca to 4.
Yeah, yeah, I would move Bianca to 4. I mean, Sasha is kind of in the same boat as Bianca. Like they're there, but they've been kind of overshadowed by that shit going on between Charlotte and Becky, to be honest.
Let me ask you this: do you think Becky should be above Britt?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool.
Even though Becky, I
All
mean,
right,
Britt, I
so
think about it, Britt hasn't done anything though.
yeah, but
I
Becky
mean,
technically has, but who cares?
yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Because Britt, she's still hitting weekly promos. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it ain't like she's striking out. I mean, the
And,
only thing I
she
would
was
give
mentioned
her.
in the best. She was mentioned in that promo, the MJF and CM Punk
Yeah,
did
she
a couple weeks
was.
ago.
Actually, yeah, that kind of gives her a little bit of boost. Because when has that ever happened in a high profile men's storyline where they're gonna call attention to like, oh yeah, you think you're you think you're one of the pillars when Lita is passing you by, Jeff? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't you wouldn't see it in you know in WWE because they don't like to give them they don't like
Right.
to glorify the women's division too much, or back then they didn't. But yeah, I'd put Britt at 1, I'd put Becky at 2, Charlotte at 3, Bianca at 4, Sasha at 5.
All right. And then now we just need to figure out how we want to do this list. Ruby Soho, Thunder Rosa. So the thing is, like, you could say Thunder Rosa, Ruby Soho, and Jade Cargill are all in
What,
the same boat of
like
just like they could
bottom 3,
basically
you
be
think?
in the same
Or
spot. I
hmm,
would probably say that they're the first 3.
hmm.
And then I'd probably say Queen Zelina and
Jade.
hold on, I'm trying to figure out okay. I think what really matters is where do we think Liv Morgan is right now?
I would put her at either 10. I'd put her at 10 just because she's so new to the ranking. But I don't know.
Okay, so Liv Morgan would be 10. All right, I'm okay with that. And
And
then do you think Queen Zelina goes all the way to 6?
I don't think so.
Because I don't think Jade necessarily goes all the way to 6
No,
either. You know what I
I
mean?
would move Jade up to either 8 or 9, but probably 9. I'm trying to think of number 6, possibly Thunder Rosa, just based on popularity and what she's doing right now. I mean,
All
when I
right,
look at out of the 3 names between her, Liv, and Ruby, I don't know out of those 3 which would deserve the 6th spot. Though you got Zelina Vega at 6. If we could put her at 6, it wouldn't be bad because again, Queen of the Ring, just became champion. I mean, I could see why she would get a 2 spot boost from 8 to 6.
I think I'm gonna say You had that match a few weeks ago where Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker were in the ring at the same time, and the crowd went nuts because that's what they
Yeah,
want to
that
see.
tag match was awesome. Yeah.
And then their team went over at the buy-in at the pay-per-view. Thunder Rosa recently beat Jamie Hayter to move on to the
True,
semis.
true.
You can make the case that
Eh,
technically speaking, because like if you think about it, WWE has a 2 through 5 on here, so you can make the case that the next person up would be the AEW's second star, and that would
mm,
be Thunder Rosa at this point.
true. No, I would agree. And it's funny again because I forgot about the match and then like the tag match as well. But then again, just based off what she did last night against Jade, yeah, I would put her at 6. I would put Thunder Rosa at 6.
Yeah. So we'll do Thunder Rosa at 6, and you want to do Zelina at 7?
Yeah, we could do Zelina at 7. I mean, we could leave her at
She
8,
she
but
moves up
sure.
one.
Yeah, yeah,
She
yeah.
moves up one spot, right?
Yeah, we could do that.
Was she at 8 before?
Yeah, she was at 8, and then
Yeah,
so
she
I
was
got
at
her
8.
at a 7. Um, so
And
now
we
I
could
think
maybe have.
it would be Ruby at 8, possibly. If not, it would be Ruby at 9.
Yeah.
But I still think that Jade would still be. I mean, Jade is like she just goes in there and has the same match, but it doesn't mean that the crowd doesn't react to her and they're not impressed with what she's doing. You know what I mean? So, like when her music hits,
I
the
would say
crowd's into it.
Ruby's at 8. Yeah. I would say Ruby's at 8. And I'll be honest with you, I'd probably maybe put Liv Morgan at 9 and move Jade and keep Jade at
Keep
10.
Jade in. I wouldn't be mad at that. Yeah, the only reason why I was thinking 10 was just because it's her first time on the list, and we're still trying to see where she goes from this newfound consistency and like TV time. But I mean,
Right.
to be honest, like again, I was talking about it earlier. I mean, the crowd really has endeared themselves to the whole Riot Squad thing, their story, their friendship. I mean, so like Liv has been trying to break through for a while. You know what I mean? So
she's in the main event picture on Raw. You know what I
and
mean?
she had a
Like,
really, I
whereas
mean, her war words with Becky was really decent. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, how am I going
someone
to stack up to big time Bex? It was pretty good. It was all right.
so I'm gonna put Liv Morgan at 9 on mine, and then I'm gonna put keep Jade at 10.
All right, I'm gonna let's run it down,
Because
reiterate it. Go ahead.
yeah, so I have Baker 1,
Yep.
Lynch 2,
Yep.
Charlotte 3, Bianca 4, Banks 5. I feel like the 5 is just like the deep hole. It's just like you're there because you're relevant, but you're
I mean,
you're
like
not moving
you're
anywhere up or down.
yeah, like I mean, like the thing with Sasha is she hasn't done anything of relevance. Like I mean, like again, I think the portion of that is because she got overshadowed in that whole Becky Charlotte thing, and you know
Mhm.
she was supposed to be the next opponent, and then now they're kind of not going that way anymore. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's
Right.
weird. That's why I thought it was weird for her to have a match against someone like Shayna Baszler on just a regular SmackDown. But yeah,
Mhm.
Thunder Rosa at 6, Queen Zelina at 7, Ruby Soho at 8, Liv Morgan at 9, and Jade Cargill still at 10. I mean, I think this is
The
a pretty
reason
solid list.
the reason why Jade Cargill's 10 to me is like if she were to lose the Thunder Rosa this week, then she wouldn't be on the list. And that, I mean they're not going to wrestle this week, I don't think. But if they do, I think Thunder Rosa might look so much better in the ring than Jade Cargill. And B,
True. True. Yeah.
if Thunder Rosa were to win, then the only reason we give Jade Cargill a lot of credit is because we think she might actually win this tournament. But if
Yeah.
she doesn't, then
I mean, we've seen it. People can still get over by losing. I don't know if her skills are there yet.
Right.
And I know it's unfair for me to assume that it's not, but it's also reasonable to me for me to assume that it's not because I haven't seen any difference in again her usual match type. It's usually the same thing. But and that's not to say I'm not a fan of hers. I mean, I really want to see what else they do with her. I think she's just this impressive ball of clay that they can really turn into something. And to be honest, I like how they've been slowly molding her as opposed to just trying to throw her out there and hey, you're supposed to be doing this. Like, you know what I mean? They kind of did that with China. You know what I mean? Before she had to kind of like, hey, I gotta go train.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like being stiff with these dudes and they're not liking it. But yeah, if Jade, I mean, it's an interesting point. If Jade doesn't move on in this tournament, like what's next for her, right? Like, you know, I mean, she hasn't had a real feud yet. I mean, she had the stuff with Red Velvet, but that's kind of minor.
And it shows too that like Thunder Rosa was not on our first list, and then now she's
Yeah,
number 6, and all she did
true.
was move on.
Yeah,
Because just
and just
just
kept
based on how
putting up
popular she is.
points on the board. Yeah, 100%. Well, that's the list. I want to ask
Yeah.
you about one last thing before we, pretty much peace out and be done with this episode. But I know we couldn't do this episode without bringing it up. Cody Rhodes flaming table spot. Pun intended. What's the
Mhm.
hot take? Because I thought it was incredibly stupid. I thought it was incredibly unnecessary. Um, I thought it was pretty. I'm not trying to be a dick here, but I thought it was kind of ridiculous to trust someone like Mandy Rose to know what she's doing when lighting a table on fire. And I'm sure you've seen that picture go on, like, it's been trending like crazy. And people have been, they've been like saying, oh, she has that crazy ex-girlfriend smile. But for me, I'm like,
Mhm.
nah, you can tell she's trying to smile because she's covering up her concern that, oh, fuck, I think I kind of fucked my husband over here on this. Because, dude, the moment that flame got lit, I was like, what the fuck? That's entirely too huge. Like, I'm like, why are you using that much lighter fluid?
Yeah.
That, and that. And then on top of that, I was like, I was mad at Cody because I'm like, why are you gonna, of all spots you can do through a table, why would you do that? Why would you do a reverse suplex? Like Andrade didn't even he didn't even go through the table. You know what I mean? He didn't even,
Yeah, I don't think he did.
and then you see like Cody's back, and on top of that, this motherfucker was on fire. And I don't know if you
and
saw this. He was on fire, reached over to pin Andrade, and then he lit Andrade on fire. Did you see that?
and then Andrade's trying to like,
You see
he's
him
trying to
patting
keep
his
his
chest like, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep selling the pin, but dude, I'm fucking burning. Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that like, how fucked over are you when your body, like your body's on fire and you just go for the pin and your body's not telling you, hey, you're on fire though, so maybe you should put yourself out. Like, God, man, I don't know. It was scary. It was real scary for me. I was watching it at like 2 a.m. and I was like yelling as if it was daytime. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I was like, dude, what are we? Oh, man, it was.
But like, not to, maybe this is the wrong thing to get frustrated at, is like, did this feud need this moment?
So that's one of the things I was telling my brother. I'm like, this was just a street fight, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so it wasn't like a Texas death match. Nope. It wasn't a unsanctioned match. Cause I was like, think about it. The most brutal matches we've had in the AEW are unsanctioned, and we still have not seen fire in those fucking matches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, we're gonna have an Atlanta street fight with Cody, and Cody wants to get cheered so bad that he's willing to fry himself up. Just, you know what I mean? But then a lot of people think that they did this just so Cody can add to the heel turn where he's like, look what I did for you guys. I lit myself on fucking fire and you guys still boo me. You know what I mean? Which, yeah, that would play great into that. But did you see his fucking back? Like, no, dude, it's not fucking worth it. Like I don't imagine him being able to wrestle anytime soon with those injuries. Like,
well, we're all talking about it. So like, I guess with Cody and AEW, maybe he's getting what they want from it, but at the same time.
But we were all talking about Jericho falling off the fucking cage too, and that wasn't necessarily in a good way.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Mankind, like what, 23 years ago. Like,
right. And so they're probably getting out of it what they wanted. But like, yeah, I don't see Cody Rhodes being able to take a bump for at least a few weeks.
Like the way that it was done, it was weird. Like I had this feeling in my stomach. I'm like, I feel like they just called this and didn't tell anybody else backstage that they were going to do that spot. It just seemed weird how, I don't know, it was just really weird. But Cody, man, I hope you get well soon, man. That's all I can say. It's like, fuck, dude. That it was just scary. It was fucking scary. I don't think I've ever seen anyone go through a fucking flaming table without a shirt on. Like even in ECW times, like they always had a shirt or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I was trying to think of like I'm sure in other crazy ass indie
like
stuff.
Edge did the spear without a shirt on, but
but McFoley took it.
Foley still had the shirt on.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It was just a level of risk.
How I give Cody some credit though, because if that happened to me, I would have like been like, yo, what the? And like, but he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna pin this guy."
Like that on top of that, I noticed that he's like actually like kissing his wife after the match.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, he's like, you crazy bitch. It's like, you realize we have a daughter, right? And I could have probably just been a fucking crisp
Right.
walking back to her room right now. Like, I don't know. Like, they love Cody. I know he's not the favorite right now, but I don't know. It was, again, as a fan, I was like,
He
fuck,
has an
dude, that was a
opportunity to
little
be the
much.
coolest. He has the opportunity to be the coolest heel in AEW or one of the most cringiest wrestlers to watch. Those
Yeah.
are that's where it's at
And you
right
know
now.
what? I'll give you that, because like you said, everyone's talking about it. So I guess it's on to what the next move is. How do they, it was dumb, but if it's getting a lot of coverage right now, how do you guys benefit from it? How you guys going to go forward? I mean, if they're able to get something great out of it, for sure. But I mean, if you guys don't, then that's where I'm like, what the fuck? That was for nothing. What? And everyone was like, and we got it on free TV. So it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It was just, fuck, I don't know, man.
It's one of those things where yeah, it's like, hey, it's kind of cool that the storyline's playing a lot of these people, but it's like I feel like it just gets messier and messier every week. Like it's just like there's matches that don't need to happen. Why is FTR still with them? Why is Cody teaming up with people that don't like
God,
him?
yeah.
It's a very like I enjoy it because of the wrestlers involved, but I'm not enjoying it because of
The
why it's
logic.
happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the logic behind everything. Like, it was okay at first when you introduced, oh shit, Andrade and Malachi in the same ring, all they're rolling together. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. But then yeah, the fact that we get the same, oh, we got a tag team match, Pac and Penta versus FTR. And what happens? Oh, he comes into the ring and he sprays the mist in Pac's face again. It's just like, or we could have just had a straight up, decision. I don't think anybody would have not anybody would have particularly lost, any stock by taking that L. You got one half of the tag champs, and then against the other AAA tag champs, and against a guy like Pac, who, I mean, that guy can take an L and be good. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It was weird. It was definitely weird, but I agree. I think there needs to be that, well, what happened to the stuff that they were doing with him and Arn, where he was like slapping him and like, I'm gonna get you back and to where you need to go. And they only did like 2 of those. I'm like, yeah, we needed like maybe a whole month of those of Arn just like trying to get him back to his killer instinct, but they just kind of just killed it.
They're trying to build this thing where it's like it's Cody versus Malachi is this big, long lasting thing. But to be honest, like, all right, we're getting into 2022 now, and you're still
Yeah,
upset with him.
yeah.
like,
And
move on.
and they fought what, like 3 times already? 3
Yeah,
4 times?
they fought 3 times. They've had tag matches. They've
Yeah,
been involved.
and
There's
he
yeah.
lost 2 and only won once, right? And that,
So,
I think
so
so.
so what has an opportunity to be something really cool between like Pac and the Lucha Bros and all
Yeah.
that and them, it's now becoming this like everyone's just a proxy for Cody.
And the thing is, the only reason why I don't like when they kind of implement stuff like this, championship wise, is because the WWE does this a lot. They tie up the championships then. So then whenever we get an eventual pay-per-view out of whatever the build is, oh, we can't have a tag match. Why? Because they're involved in this other match. So it's just, it's weird shit like that where I'm like, well, I would have rather seen the tag team title match. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, man, like I said, I just had to bring up the Cody thing. Shout out to Mac Lowe, man. I wanted to hear what he was going to say about it, because I know he definitely probably would have had some pretty intricate thoughts about it. But yeah, man, that's been the Flow Show. Like I said, try to catch up with everything that we've been missing out. I know there's some things that happened that we didn't get a chance to comment on or share our lovable hot takes on, as you guys
Well,
are
I'm sure
always
there's a
down
bunch
for.
of
So
people. There's a bunch of podcasts and stuff that cover things. Like we probably didn't have to dig deep into CM Punk versus MJF because everyone's done it,
yeah.
and it was good. All right.
Yeah. And that was my thing. Was like, I was gonna bring it up in this episode, but I'm like, well, I feel like we're gonna bring it up now just to talk about something that happens next week. So I was like, well, we'll wait.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But yeah, man, make sure you follow us everywhere. We're on social media, man. That is Flow Wrestling Show and Flow Wrestling Pod, respectively, on both Instagram and Twitter. You can also catch the audio version of this on SoundCloud. And if you guys wish to watch not just this episode, but all our past episodes, you can do so at YouTube. And yeah, just check us out, man. The link tree is right in the bio of all of our social media, so be sure to check that out. I am Quincy Jones Go. Everywhere you want to follow me on social media, be sure to follow Brian Andrew _ as well, and support the LA Clips forum. Is a forum? Not forum.
Yeah, it's
Is it?
forum, like
Yeah.
the forum, but
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, no, wait, it worked out that great. No. it just lined up, huh? Or I'm sorry. Oh no. See, I was about to fuck it over. Is it true what I heard about the Staples Center? They're gonna
yeah,
change it to the Bitcoin or the
yeah,
crypto center or something.
Crypto.com arena.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, "Crip, what?" They thought it was like gang
Yeah.
related. I'm like, nah, dude. I don't know how. I mean,
Well,
it's still Staples Center to me. I don't know.
the Clippers are not going to play there in
That's
2024,
true.
so we just have to deal with it for 2 more years.
There you go. We ain't gonna, and I think we can have patience for that. But
Maybe 3.
but you know what? Thank you guys again for checking us out, supporting us, doing what you do. Definitely we'll see you guys next week. Until next time, it's been For the Love of Wrestling. Go.